watching. Wrong one. This is it. So let's see the match. We're a little bit behind, but we will still start from the beginning. Let's see who gets the coin toss. Also, according to chat, most people tipped the elves, which makes sense because vamps are so unreliable, and Random Boy is also unreliable as a coach. He's going to get mad at me for saying that, but I don't care. Seems like the vamps are receiving. They no, the elves are receiving, and they chose to receive. Surprising. Usually elves like to kick. So yeah, we have 11 men from the elves and from the vampires. I'm not sure about Brandomoy getting a wizard because it's bugged, and a babe instead of trying to get more bench, because vampires do have the tendency to injure their own players, and once you are running out of thralls you probably lose the game. Kicks short and a riot, not very impactful probably. A lot of loners from both sides. We see one for the vamps, which is not good because of vamps needing a bench, and 3 for the elves. A blitz on a rookie thrall, not even a knockdown. We see quite a lot of agilities on the elves, going to be very nasty for Random Boy to deal with them. They probably just want a score off, because the vampires need to roll more dice on offense, because you need to move your vampires and probably even carry with a vampire, because Random Boy does not have a sure hands thrall. Well, I have my doubts about Random Boy's ability to win this one. Elves are developed and vamps are missing a bench, which are not good for the vamps. So yeah, just standard LOS blocks, using the loners to do them. Double skulls. Loner thrall better than loner elf. That seems logical. Random Boy just standing up immediately to base up again. I'm not sure about giving blocks on thralls. You cannot really afford to lose them with no bench. 2 plus Hypnogaze with the agility 5. Ooh, rolls a bloodlust. That's not good. Just pushes as well. No tackle for the vampires. That's going to limit them. They do have a single wrestle thrall, which will be very important to deal with the blodgers. KO on one of the thralls already. But there is a babe in play, so Random Boy will most likely get him back. Another Hypnogaze. The Hypnogaze does mean that he cannot just pass to that catcher. and he has to choose someone else as your scoring target. But the elves should have a very easy time just passing to this Niggled Agi5 dodge catcher, because the thrower has both accurate and strong arm and safe throw, which is usually not a skill you see someone actually pick, and you only see it on high elf throwers because they start with it. But it is very nice to avoid those intercepts on the 6. So yeah, just a standard turn from both players. Elves going for a quick score, Random Boy not really attempting to fully stop the score. His setup didn't really allow a screen against the elves. He's mostly just making sure that the elves don't get a stall as well. We are probably going to see a pass to one of the Agi5ers. Ooh, one on the pass. Pass reroll works. Easy pass, 2 plus, because of all the passing skills. Gets the catch, and it should be a quick to 1-up score for the elves. The riot means that Random Boy gets one less turn to attempt to score himself. We haven't seen them spectacularly implode last match versus the Dwarves, I believe it was, or Orcs. Some Bash team. I think it was Dwarves. But now they don't have a bench, and like every cash they do on themselves will be a player off the pitch forever, which is a massive advantage for the elves. They don't even need to hurt the thralls for the thralls to die. Let's see if Random Boys KO come back. KO'd elf stay down and the troll come back. That means it's 11 versus 10 in favor of Random Boy. That should be nice for him. But once again, Vamps are the best at removing themselves. And the elves still have very nasty players with a Agi5 catcher, with the just dodge, and one with wrestle, tackle, and Agi5. And also a very nice thrower if your game plan is throwing, although the movement bust is probably annoying. We might see kickoff return on him when he levels up, just so he could pick up the ball without GFIs. As well, we have a kick on this line elf. Squeaky will be proud. Going to be tough for the vampires to defend this one. They do have the strength 4, but like wrestle, tackle, and Agi 5 means that if the vampires ever drop the ball, it's going to be easy to the elves to take the ball up and run away. And just one bad bloodlust or one weak position and they can punish it very easily. Randomly going to use the Bloodstepper Vamp as his ball carrier. Randomly is probably very happy to see no strip ball from the elves, because if one of those Agi5s had strip ball, it was nearly impossible to actually protect the ball. Yeah, I agree that stalling is going to be difficult for both sides. The advantage of the pro elves is that they have an amazing thrower that can practically pass anywhere at worst on a 3+, and like the catchers naturally are very good scoring threats, and with Agi 5 and dodge on on them, it's pretty difficult to stop them. Nerves of Steel also really useful on the rookies to make the quick score thing. Classic David Bowie catcher. Seems like Random Boy will not use... No, he might use his dirty player, but he's going to block one block on the LOS with a Vamp, and probably Blitz with a Thrall. Ideally, you want to avoid as many Vamp movements as possible, even if you only have 3. Proelf's deciding to kick very short. No Blitz, which is always nice, because we don't like Blitzes. They make the game very boring. Pushes on the first hit. Vampire does not Bloodlust and rolls a knockdown on the thrower. Probably the best target on the LOS. Not a stun even. Armor 7 is the best armor, of course. I would have liked to see him moving the Thralls to protect the ball before taking the LOS blocks, but they do have block at least, so it's a little bit safe, but not ideal, I would say. Because if you roll like wall scrolls, you just instantly lose the game, and even with this defense, it makes it slightly harder for the elves to take it. Well, the thing about Blitz in kickoff in playoffs, especially in a match like this, is that most likely the elves will just instantly score and put the Vamps so much behind that the Vamps don't get a chance to win unless they get insane removals and don't kill their own players, which is not what we've seen yet here. We were close, just a 7. One off the KO. Also, the main reason why like a blitz for the elves would be annoying is that the elves are probably in the better position because elves versus not very developed vamps with no bench is usually a good match for the elves. And giving the stronger player the blitz tends to be boring because you want to see the underdog having a chance at least. I like not moving the vampire in the back because it's a bloodlust roll you don't really want to throw. But the ball feels like a little bit alone. Oh, he does use him. He's using him to blitz. Right. That wasn't a blitz. I like it. Ooh. Both down. David Bowie too strong. And Donald Trump, the vampire, is not very good. Well, the government is shut down for a while, I believe, so it makes sense that he's going to lie on the floor and do nothing. Yeah, so the elves have the option to try and pressure the ball, or they can just go for a classic elf screen. Both options are definitely viable at this point, because there is a lot of time for the drive left. Well, the thing is, vampires have so many other moments when you really need that reroll because of Bloodlust and Hypnotic Gaze, which are so crucial for your game plan very often. You need to use those rerolls to make sure you don't Bloodlust, and when you need the Hypno Gaze, it works. Which is why Pro is actually a very nice skill on a vampire, because it lets you reroll both of those actions for free, which is the only way to reroll them. The Pro reroll is weaker than a normal reroll, but it's better than just accepting a lot of Bloodlusts. Oh, it was a skull both down. Uh, yeah, skull both down. Takes the both down because why would we take the skull? No damage from the elves. They would have liked to see someone hurt. I heard
I've come
someone on
to your
Discord.
aid.
Ooh, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so Fiction is here, which is nice because it's not fun being alone, and
No.
this can be a very interesting match.
Um, I actually cast Pantheon Patzer's match before this, so this will be fun.
Ooh, he rerolls the Bloodlust and fail it.
Oh,
Block saving
unlucky.
the day. Ooh, and that's the magic thrower out of the pitch for a little bit. You really want him to wake up because you don't really want to attempt any sort of quick score without your thrower. He's so good.
I always hate playing Vamps and they only get stuns repeatedly.
Yeah. Well, eventually they implode and like injure two thralls, And Random Boy does not
Mhm.
have a bench, so it can be very scary for him.
There's nobody below on either side, though. Neither have a bench, so down to dice.
Pretty much. Well, the advantage the elves have is that both the vampires and the elves are trying to kill the vampires, while only the vampires are trying to kill the elves. Yeah, it makes sense that elves would like to score quick and often. Like that's usually the elf strategy, unless you are dark elves, and sometimes there are matches where you cannot afford to score quickly.
I would like to see several fouls with the third player.
He did not induce a bribe. Can you afford to start going down on trolls? Because once you go like a troll or two down, bloodlusts can just destroy you because it ruins your position so hard.
It's a good point. I am used to having a bench when I
Yeah,
foul.
like usually you would expect at least like two, three trolls at the bench,
Mm.
and then like losing one, not a problem really. But when you lose like three and you cannot replace them, you cannot do anything without fear. Goes for the foul anyway on a loner.
I think in that case, if you're going to foul somebody, it better be a high priority target, not
Yeah,
necessarily this loner lineman
I
here.
don't like fouling such a low profile target. Does not get punished, but only a stun as well. So
And that guy wasn't really going anywhere anyway.
I'm not sure about leaving the back so open because if the elves want to, they can just put a blood stepper on you, and that forces some dice.
He's got GF5 for an uphill with tackle.
You can probably
Or
use wrestle tackle with no
catcher, actually,
defense.
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's probably still a GFI, but it's not bad.
8, 9. 9 scores.
Like 25% without the reroll. It's not ideal, but if you make the ball drop, the vampires are in quite a mess.
This is when sometimes laying on the ground is very useful. Just blocking that little dodge path right there.
Yeah, the troll is doing some work, and his name is work. So, Rando Boy expected this, and and named the troll correctly. Goes for a blitz on the loner troll, gets a knockdown, not even a stun. That does leave two trolls on this kicker lineman that are going to be out of position. We
I
might
think I
see
would
the
have liked.
hmm?
I think I would have liked to see him blitz high herring sword number 13 on the front left corner here. Just push his positioning a bit, mess him up.
I think this troll was meant for the last game when Herringzord casted it. Why is there no like high Gerber troll? He's going to lose because of that.
I expect a riot.
There was a riot first turn. That's why. And now
There
I
you go.
understand. We don't see the elves pressure as much as I would expect when they have pretty much three trolls that are out of commission for the turn. But they still have two KOs of themselves and they don't really want to lose more players.
Like most football games, it's going to be down to the positioning.
Yeah, just going to be elves trying to slow the vamps as much as possible, and vamps probably being very slow because vamps
Mhm.
having to rely both on having a troll ready to wherever you go and only being movement 6 is not very good.
Gets the
That's a
pow.
pow. Pow's a blowjob. No break. It is. AV8. But that really ruins the defense of Tself, because if he could just
Yeah.
sidestep like next to the dirty player as well, he could just mark all the vampire team without getting knocked down. Hypnogaze as the loner. We probably see a blitz on the Ag5 catcher and trying to push down. Who do you blitz with though? Because you cannot really start with blitzing with a vampire.
This ball carrier is kind of blocking the path for everyone else to go that way.
Yeah, it
So,
feels like he's going to be forced to use the dirty player as the anti-bloodlust player and just blitz with the ball. But that will probably leave him exposed. But it is an eagle catcher, so he's a very juicy target to try and kill.
I think what he could have done is hypnogazed the Rackler and then blitzed the catcher and then just walked out. He
Yeah,
could
I
have
think
set up a little further down.
that would make the movement of the vampire a little bit less scary, because you don't need to make the bloodlust as well, because there was no troll around. But it seems like Random Boy is just going for a slower approach. I'm not sure about that. He only has 3 more turns after this, and he's 1 square up into the opponent's half. He is blitzing the Nigel, which is nice, but does not get a knockdown. Also, this
Cage
might
is
leave him open.
Cage is double marked at the moment in the back. It's going to be difficult for him to get those hits, but it is
Well, the
an
main
opportunity that
way
one
to
gives.
open the cage is using, like, if he manages to red dice the... Oh, he goes for a foul on the big blitzer. That's going to be huge if it works. Send off!
So
I think the elves are so happy to see trolls removing
just
themselves.
Justin Bieber goes back to Canada.
One vampire down. Actually, one troll down, but it's the same. Activates the loner that was hypnogazed. I think that if he's going to attempt a breakthrough, he's probably going to try and move the loner thrall number 2, Mandek, and then blitz from above. But it's going to be a little bit clunky with so few elves available, because there are 2 KOs, and the blitzer is stunned after the foul. We might see the elf just deciding to move around, create another elf screen, and pressure the vamps just with a time pressure.
I don't think you want to attack from the back.
Goes for the blitz on the block troll, gets a knockdown. Ooh, just a stun.
Now, does he have enough players to force him to blitz backward and still not be able to move
Well,
forward?
I don't like that because the vamp is AG4 Blodge. So
Mm-hmm.
if it's so easy to go forward with a blitz, you are committing to the 1 in 36. And your game
Mm-hmm.
plan as the elves can never be they roll a 1 in 36. Unless you are in a very dire spot.
This is a little too easy for him to advance.
Yeah, it feels
He needs a blitz, and that's it. It just pushes the edgy five catcher, either one out of the way, and walks the rest of the way down.
like the main crazy thing is he can blitz back and just use Hypnogaze to push forward, but he probably will blitz forward because it's so much more worthwhile, especially when he can blitz the nickel catcher. Does not get him again. Random Boy really wanted to see a knockdown there and probably an injury to even up the numbers.
Especially with him being 2 SPP away from a level.
Yeah, you really need those level up on the vampires because they have so many skills they want. You have blodge pretty much on everyone. You want someone with mighty blow. You guard is still amazing. Tackle is good. Pro is good. You have too many skills and so few level ups. Seems like he's going for some cage up the field, but it's not going to be 100% safe because the two catchers will probably base cage corners.
Hmm.
Or he's trying to push even more forward,
Maybe
willing to commit GFIs.
maybe he screens off a catcher and passes to the salesman, which I wouldn't necessarily advise.
Yeah, it's a little bit risky, but it is a level up on a vampire,
Hmm.
so it's not bad long term. I'm not sure if it's how you should play this match. Roll the
Especially
Bloodlust
without
with the
bloodlust.
AG5. We might see a reroll here because you don't really have any good position where
Um,
he can Bloodlust. Does
I
not
think
reroll
yeah,
it.
he can stand next to number 13 here, the Thrall, the cage corner.
High
He would
Herring Sword.
be marking Zin, the catcher, but I don't know. I don't see a better option for him.
Yeah, if you take the Bloodlust, you just go for that one because you don't want to. Actually, he might just bite the kicker, but that would leave the ball so open. Yeah, I don't see another option. It still leaves a lot of risk for him later on. Ooh, makes the dodge. That would be a horrible time to fail. Does not go to where we suggested. Goes to
Hmm.
Hypnogaze and free up the catcher instead. That would leave more players standing up next to the ball later. But
Like that
Bloodlust.
one. Hmm. Okay. It leaves the vampire a little further back, but arguably safer.
It will leave more players standing to protect the ball, which is good, but like there was some risk involved. And now the vampire is going to be very out of position. Probably you
He's either
cannot
gonna
even.
have
Hmm?
make one or two GFIs. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes the first GFI, probably takes the second one because he did not bloodlust and has a reroll.
Triple ones on vamps are never fun. Not only do
They
you snake, you also lose a vampire for the drive.
yeah, that's
It was very close. It was a one on one and a two.
yeah. If he failed that dodge, the ball would just be up for grabs for the elves because the wrestle tackle can just blitz the ball, someone picks it up, run as far as they can, and it's probably spells game over for the vamps.
I think he has to take the uphill with the right the catcher this turn.
Yeah, it's actually not even that bad because you can commit a reroll for it, and you have 25% knockdown to begin with.
Mm-hmm. It's two GFIs to get there unless he wants to do AG5 things.
Well, because you're RG5, you prefer to use
Mm-hmm.
dodges instead of GFIs if you can.
Well, that was including cutting corners. He's got to cut a little deeper.
Well, as an RG5, you can cut the corner a little bit deeper because those are two pluses
Mm-hmm.
anyway, which is
One,
the
two, three,
privilege you get
four,
as an elf.
9%. It's going to be at least one GFI anyway, assuming that's what he's going for. It
Yeah,
looks like it since he's not taking the blitz on the back corner. He might take the blitz on the front corner, but I mean, I'm not sure he has a great one turn option at the moment.
yeah. He
Probably fine, but I don't know.
if the thrower comes back, then he does have an easy time passing the ball to the scoring threat.
Mm-hmm.
But you are still only movement 8, which is not
Snakes.
snakes on a plane. I'm not sure about taking. Like he could have dodged out here, and it would have been less dodges overall if the goal was to hit the
Yeah,
ball.
He may have been going for the 3+ dodge instead of the GFI into 2 tackle zones.
Uh, that's a little bit weird, but he snaked anyway, so it did not matter. Now it's
Mhm.
just a question of whether Random Boy wants to score this turn, or is he mental and aims for a stall. Ooh, another KO on an elf.
And this is when you wish you had your dirty player and you save for this foul.
Yeah. Also, like, the Vamps really want to stall now because they don't want to give 2 KO attempts to the elves. If they can go next half with like 2 elves missing to start with, even with their missing dirty player, they are probably in a very strong position. Ooh, he used Hypnogaze to free up the rookie troll, probably aiming to stall this then. I don't hate
I
that because,
expect him to move to one of the corners and then he blocks there. And then
yeah, the ball carrier does have
there's not much
sidestep.
you can do against the blitzer, the sidestepper there, yeah. So one of your corners is going to be marked. You don't really want to dodge the thrall. Loose cage is bad against the Sagi 5 though.
Ooh, he goes for a block here. That does leave it quite open in the back.
It will give him a follow-up hit since he got knocked down though,
Yeah, but you
on the
kinda
catcher.
don't want to move that
Yeah.
troll because now both sides are completely open.
Hmm.
Like, but he cannot bring
It's a little
assists in
greedy.
the end.
I think he's going to have to dodge a thrall.
Yeah, the hit with the AG5 wrestle tackle will be a red dice, but it's so easy to get it,
Mm-hmm.
and dropping the ball here would be so crucial. Like, you can stop the score, and if you stop the score, you're in such a good position. But if you don't,
If he
you're in
had a
such a
strip
bad.
ball, this would be such an easy play to make.
Well, if he had strip ball, we would have seen the red
Yeah,
dice long ago,
yeah.
because
You'd just be making them frivolously.
like it would have been like 3-0 possibly if because he would go. He makes the dodge, but I think the catcher should have the movement to wrap around with some dodges. Yeah, he can do double GFIs and I believe 4 2+ dodges to reach the ball. Not ideal, but you probably take it because you don't want to see the Vamps scoring on turn 8 when you have so many KO'd players.
He'd still hit
And
with the catch or directly. He could either do the 4+ dodge or do several dodges and then do GFI, I believe, to hit the taxman.
the the instant dodge might be better. But like if we are going to see Random Boy going 1-1 to the next half with the wizard in hand and not many vamps removed and possibly a lot of elves missing, that might go for the vampires.
Putting Du Bois in sort of a good position. A little open on one side, but I mean, you've got a strength 4 blodge ball carrier.
Yeah, very often with teams like vampires, you just say, I believe in the strength of my players because you don't really have the players to protect yourself. It happens with ogres as well. You just believe in strength 5 because Noblars are very bad and you cannot rely on so many boneheads every single turn.
If the enemy team doesn't have guard, you can just roll up in a conga line. You don't even have to
Yeah.
cage.
Well, you still prefer to not give the red dice if you can, especially when wrestle
Yeah,
and tackle are in play.
but it
Goes for the
is
dodge
Anarch.
through, rolls a
Whoop.
6, pushes, probably will see a reroll here to try and get the knockdown. Gets it!
Gets it. Wow.
And the other AG5 catcher is pretty close, but Hero Troll, hey
That's
Herringzord! I hate this
yeah.
troll even more now.
He only grabbed that just to get some limelight.
I hate him even more, that's impressive.
Like, this could have been a very interesting bubble game. But no, Thrall just scoops it up.
Well, I believe the elves can still pressure that Thrall, but it's going to be quite tough because Hypnogaze is a thing and Blitz is a thing, so it's easy to remove a lot of elves even if they have sidestep.
Mm-hmm.
I like forcing a little bit more dodges from the Agi5 Vampire because he is the main threat to just run up the field, Hypnogaze the guy next to the ball, and make your life very hard.
I like that.
Yeah, you
Well,
need.
maybe not there though, because currently he can just take the tax man up 2 squares and Hypnogaze on 3+. He could have made it a 4+.
Yeah, the main problem is like he can take one vampire, attempt the Hypnogaze,
Or
take
some
the other
dodges.
vampire, attempt the Hypnogaze.
Mm-hmm. So now he's only got one route to it, so basically one attempt at Hypnogaze. And then the other guy can't really dodge in because you'd have to dodge on a 3+ without dodge. I mean, if you're going to do that, you just dodge the ball carrier.
Yeah, so we probably are going to see the Taxman hoping to get the Hypnogaze and relying on the dodge otherwise. No, he is going to just use the Agi5 with some dodges. That's probably safer because the Hypnogaze is only a 2+. And
It worked on it too.
yeah, easy score now.
Probably
Just
it
run it
wants
in.
to get SPP on the vampires instead of the Thrall as well.
Yeah, but do you risk... Ooh, I don't like risking blocks, but I don't know. We probably will see a handoff to the
I
Taxman.
think I think he's going to blitz.
Ooh, rolls the Bloodlust, but he does have a Troll near
Mm-hmm.
enough. Nigel does not doing a thing, even though armor broke. As the elves right now, you really hope for an injury, just so you would have a chance next half. Because the wizard is still in play.
There it is.
Yeah. Wark is injured.
Apo's it.
Ooh. I don't
Aggressive.
hate that Apo. Because you really don't want to go down more men. And
Mm-hmm.
you're in such a good position with the wizard in hand.
You don't want to be down on players versus these elves. Because all three of these KOs could just come back.
Yeah, if the KOs come back, you're already down on men because of that send-off. I like how the vamp just jumps through the
It
troll.
just Goomba stomps him. He's like, thanks to the ball, yes.
This animation makes no sense.
He does get all of his KOs back. But a random boy also gets his, so it's like
It's one up for the
sort of
elves there.
fair. Would have been 2 down if he didn't apple.
Yeah, that makes the Apo seem a lot more worthwhile, but it's still not ideal for the vampires. The main problem is that even if he scores on turn 16, there is still a chance for a one turn from the elves. But he does have a wizard, and he can just try to hopefully injure more elves this time. I think the elves are going to try to be more aggressive because they don't want to rely on a one turner. Yes, he did level up the block vamp, the salesman, which is nice. Probably will take dodge, or we might see Rando Boy taking Mighty Blow, which is a skill you really want on every team really, and you get it on normals.
He has wrestlers. I mean, one wrestle, so tackle is not crucial at this moment, but I think it is a skill choice he's going to have to
Yeah, you need
carefully consider.
like you have just so many skills you want on the vampires, and because you start with practically none, it's very difficult to decide how you are going to develop your vampires. Usually you just take what you need for the next match, which is the best way to decide without breaking your head, but it's not always the optimal way. But if he
Looks
is
like the
going up,
next
he's probably going to like pick Mighty Blow if he's going on against something like Norse or
he's going
that.
against the Lizards next.
Can you
Whoever
allow?
wins.
Can you say that without spoiling? That is the question. That is
Ah,
why I
damn it.
avoided it. Another short kick. The elves are really praying for a blitz. I'm not sure about that. Especially last half, I would have preferred to see a long kick, and then it's very annoying for the vampires to walk up the pitch very slowly.
I think maybe he was hoping for a blitz.
I just don't like saying that your game plan is rolling a blitz. It's not a
Hmm.
very
I
consistent
mean,
one.
it would win the game, but it's usually not going to.
Yeah, especially because there is still a wizard in play. Ooh, just a stun. He did
Rather
even up
should
the
take
numbers with that KO.
did him a favor though by getting rid of a loner.
This is when the elves really wished they had some frenzy, because it would be so easy to make the sideline plays so harder.
Just having frenzy makes your opponent have to play around it.
Yeah, you don't want to lose players. Blitzes with the loner. Only a push. I would prefer to see you blitz with one of your own players, so if you get the lucky injury, you actually keep the SPP. Because throw level ups are actually very crucial. You like guard on doubles or even leader on doubles are very useful, and even just having a little bit more block or wrestle is nice. And sometimes you even take sure hands on you one of your thralls, because it's a very awkward skill to give to a vampire, but you need it in a lot of matches.
Especially versus strip ball teams.
Yeah, against any street ball team, not having sure hands is tough, and like the current ball carrier can take like sure hands next level, but it feels like such a wasted skill when you can take guard instead or tackle instead, and you need those skills to have chance in a lot of the other matchups. But sometimes you do take the sure hands on a vampire just because it's safer to hold it on strength 4 and the agi 4.
If he's a dedicated ball carrier, I'm not sure what else would be better than sure hands.
Well, the thing is, usually in Blood Bowl you don't always have the ball, and when you don't have the ball, guard is a very nice skill to have. Just going for a very classic elf screen, although I believe this catcher should be one more to the right. Blitz is the thrall that caught the ball, Hey Herringzord, and does not get a knockdown. I'm going to have a hard time with this thrall.
On either side, having frenzy makes this game a little less fun.
And not having frenzy as elves, like people disrespect it, especially on high elves and pro elves,
Hmm.
because like the best players to give frenzy to, just like the vampires, have so many good skills to take, but can never really take it. Ooh,
That's not
loner
good.
injures himself. Just a badly hurt, but it's a loner, so dead and badly hurt are the same if you don't apo. That means the vampires are now up numbers and still have a wizard in hand.
For rerolls, probably we'll reroll one or two bloodlusts. Or just take them. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you really want to
This
reroll
could swing.
bloodlusts. But like the problem is, if somehow we go to overtime, maybe it's better to tank the bloodlusts and go for just saving the rerolls, because you need a lot of rerolls as vampires. Ooh, blitzes with the wrestle. Does not get a knockdown, but he does have a follow-up block. Seems like the Vamps are trying to go slow again. It did actually work well last time because the Elves did decide to put up a rather weak defense.
No real reason to push too hard here. Let's get plenty of time. Just focus on removing elves and out positioning.
Yeah, I think Random Boy knows that the Elves feel very threatened because they are equal and the ball is in the Vampire's hand. So he just needs to slowly grind up the pitch and pretty much be in a winning position unless a one turn happens. I am not sure about moving that vampire. Like, he was in an okay spot anyway, and risking a random bloodlust is not a good idea. He doesn't move the RG5 though, which is at least one bloodlust he avoided.
I think he was trying to sort of Thrall from getting a hit, risking another removal.
Well, I think hitting the Thrall is still on the table, especially if he blitzes like the other Thrall, then the hit on the Thrall he tried to protect is simple. And I don't even think it would qualify as overcommitting. He just goes for a dodge and a blitz with that. Blitzer, he might be trying to put him on the ball, but he needs another dodge to hit the block Thrall. Goes for GFI instead, fails the GFI. We might see a reroll here. Goes for the reroll in overtime format and gets a knockdown. Just a stun.
Hypnogaze just makes sidestep feel bad.
Yeah, it's like the even more frustrating part is he can just bring the Agi5 to Hypnogaze,
Mm-hmm.
and then like even if you Bloodlust, he's just going to bite the stun the Thrall. So most likely he like even a Bloodlust is not a punish for trying to Hypnogaze you.
He's done well to make this a little trickier
Yeah, he
because now he
does.
has to put the thrower out of the way if he wants the 2+.
Yeah, he's going to try and base up people now, make the vampires roll dice because he does feel pressured. He knows that he cannot let the vampires just slowly go up the pitch, and then when it's time to score, they just hypnogaze you once or twice, and your defense is pointless.
Elf screen against vampires is not
The thing is, any screen against vampires doesn't work with
true.
hypnogaze. You just need to pressure them actively usually, and that is what he's going for. Ooh. Blitzes with wrestle, the Bloodstepper does not get a knockdown with a wrestle. That means the Bloodstepper is going to stay on the ball.
It's potentially 3 more hits though.
Well, because he has Fend,
He just goes back to the left actually.
yeah, like you can never get him off now. And the next block is with a loner Thrall. Do you really want to risk that? He's probably just dodging. Yeah, he just dodges, makes the dodge. But once again, the cage is not very safe, even less than the turn
Should
before.
have if he could have. I don't. See him. Yeah, he should have gotten 1 over maybe. I mean, it's not as much help.
Yeah, now the back side of the cage, we probably will see the kicker moving one to the side to... No, that still leaves a very nice spot to be an assist. I don't like that. Just believes in the vampire's ability to move, but once again, this does not stop the assist if he doesn't GFI. He can just dodge the thrower, be an assist on the ball, block with the tackle. He makes the GFI in the end, but that was very risky. That was a 2
Cage
plus 2
corner
plus.
is marked as well. And he can't get an assist unless he did another dodge, but or those two.
Fails a GFI. Does he commit a reroll? He does commit a reroll to mark once again the Bloodstepper. Gets a hit on the catcher with that, but he did commit a reroll. And there is still a way to go back onto the ball without blitzing even. And he can
Yeah.
probably support him more this time.
Can't hit the ball, but he can get the tackler back on him.
He can even set up a chain push so Walk, the Thrall, will be chain pushed into the Elves, but he doesn't go for it. Could have gotten another block that way. The block with the Bloodstepper was a stun. That's pretty good for the elves. Once again, I really prefer the strategy of pressuring the vampires.
I think he can bring, yeah, this play around the back to make the harder to dodge out. Not perfect, but
I
the
like
vampires aren't positioned well enough to take advantage of this open ground in the front here. They can only get 2, 3
yeah.
players.
Very often the best way to deal with vampires is just make sure the thralls are not mobile, and then you have to do stuff with vampires with the risk of rolling bloodlust and turning over.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes for a hit on
I
the
like that.
AG5. That would put another tackle player on the ball, but he does not
It's like
follow
not
up.
to follow.
I would like to see him following up just to have tackle on that AG5 guy, because now he can just dodge back in on a 2 plus with with a reroll. But the vampire is in a very awkward position. The only player not marked is the block vampire that leveled up.
He's done a good job of putting pressure on the vampires. So
But there is
it's
an
a risk.
immediate 2 dice hit on the blood stepper, and with the Hey Herringzord, the annoying troll, and even if it's a push, to keep the sidestepper on the ball, you have to sidestep into the vampire, so there will be a follow-up block. He could have also just used the vampire to blitz the Bloodstepper, and that would mean there was no sidestep of the ball, but he does not go for that. Gets a KO on the thrower instead. Not a bad result, but the
It opens up a
positioning
lot more hits coming in for the assist to make that 2-die, and now you can't sidestep onto the ball.
uses the thrall that is in a worse position, but the sidestep is going to stop the blocks on the other side, or at least make them less nice.
You can only get one more hit instead of 2 this way.
And
You
like,
could just go for the.
ooh, he rolls the Bloodlust. That's not a good time to Bloodlust, because no matter who you bite, it's going to leave you open. He re-rolls it. That makes sense. You don't really have the players to commit. Even though you are 2 players up, you're in an awkward spot.
Oh,
Ooh, that's very bad,
KO
because,
your turn.
well, the KO is not the problem. The
But yeah,
problem is the ball is
the rest
completely open.
pretty easy, pretty
Like,
simple
there
to
is a
get through
gap
here.
between the wrestle thrall and the
Just a 2
rookie
plus
thrall.
dodge to get an assist or to get the hit. You can get all of your Agi5 players over there if you want.
Well, the thing is, if he's willing to dodge without dodge first with the thrower and the rookie catcher, he can make it a 2 dice and have the Agi5 dodge catcher ready to pick it up very close to the ball. We might see him still uses the Agi5 dodge to be an assist and then rely on the wrestle tackle dodge Agi5, but he's in a weaker position.
Who's
Either
going to
way,
pick up the ball with, though? Opts to take the hit
that does make it
a little closer, yeah. The other guys.
actually, yeah, the catcher, the rookie catcher that looks like David Bowie can now be an assist without any more dice, but I would have
He's
preferred
going to
his.
take. He's going for the hit with the Rackler. It looks like he's setting up for that, which I don't disagree with.
Yeah, but he does leave the
Can put
recovery
sidestep back
weaker.
on the ball. I think you would do that after you take the hit, though, just in case you don't knock it down.
The problem with using the Rackle is that you don't have an AG5 to pick up the ball if it scatters fully. He's going for 1 dice. I don't like that. He could have just dodged once with the other
I think
rookie
it was worth
catcher.
the risk. Get some pow.
I don't think it would really be commitment of important players to assist again. And that is the perfect
Scoops it.
scatter for the elves. Like, it cannot be better. Only way better is maybe it scatters again into the catcher's hand.
And now Random Boy's probably going to have to use the wizard soon.
Yeah. Most likely next turn, because the elves are going to be in a weaker position. And the more time you give them, the easier it will be to be in a safe position. Snakes here on the dodge would make it very spicy.
That would just be unkind. I think
Ooh, he did roll a 1, but only 1-1. Is he going to pass the ball? Because right there, like the wizard
Is
is
that a
so
real
strong. I think we might see a pass into the Ag5 dodge, just because I don't think this is a good position against the wizard. Like, if he, like, yeah, we see the pass. Passes to the kicker instead.
Who's harder to hit at least. Ag 5.
Ag5 doesn't care as long as he doesn't
Yeah,
roll Bloodlust, but I still think we might see the Lightning Bolt just to be safe.
I wouldn't hate it. The vampires still have to worry about the rest of their positioning, you know. A bad scatter could just really be the nail in the coffin for him here.
I think we might have the game plan be rely on the Ag5 Vampire not Bloodlusting and passing to the block Vampire, maybe either through a handoff or an actual pass, and then just try to run it up the field because you are also running out of time.
There's
We
the lightning
see
bolt.
just
Yeah,
immediate Lightning Bolt into an injury. That would matter both for overtime and for this half. That scatter
it's
could
not
be
a good
worse.
scatter. Still get to it,
Yeah, he can get to it
but
with.
there's more dice required. And now he has to pass in a tackle zone against an Ag 5 player.
Well, because of that scatter, you don't pass because they have Nerves of
Mm-hmm.
Steel. You can just
There's
go
your
pick it
steal,
up
yeah.
and dodge twice for a
He
handoff.
just scoops it back. You can't risk the interception here.
No. Ooh, that
Well,
push is
either
not
side,
so.
they're too hard to deal with.
I think that push symbolizes that he's trying to.
He's gonna blitz with these salesmen.
Yeah.
It's probably better.
Does he have the time to go slower? Because now scoring going to be difficult when you're deep into your own half on turn
Mm-hmm.
13. Hypnogaze is the rookie catcher, just because he can, and it would
On a
make.
3+ rolls a 3.
Yeah. He is Agi5, so even if
Mm-hmm.
he's in a tackle zone freeze enough, gets a knockdown on the
Gets him
Nigel
down.
guy. Would like to see a removal here, not even a break.
His good players have been the ones not taking damage.
Yeah, especially with a Nigel on this catcher, you would expect him to get hurt, but as we have seen before on Squiggy's team, Nigels are a lie, and they actually make your players tougher to hit.
I think I would like to see him go one square further back.
The Hypnogaze actually really helping here because it does allow you to bring a Thrall next to the ball to mitigate the damage of a Bloodlust. But once again, this feels really slow.
He either has to make a dodge through tackle or a GFI to pick up the ball. He does at least have the throw there for the bloodlust, as you said, yeah.
Doesn't roll Bloodlust, still needs the dodge. Rolls a 1,
Oh,
that would
there's a
mean,
one.
I believe that means a reroll.
After reroll.
One reroll for the Vamps left. Do they get the pick? They do get the pickup at least, but they really
Three
don't want
turns
this.
to get all the way down the field, though. It's going to be
Yeah,
difficult.
they really don't want this to go to overtime, but it's going to be tough to score. So yeah, it's not looking good for the Vamp, and that's a Skull. Thrall KOing himself. I don't like taking that. He was stopping the thrower from moving, and if the thrower dodged out, he would be a perfect scoring threat. Because a pass play is your best way to score now, really.
Could have gone the other way. Could have knocked him down and KO'd him.
Yeah, but the thing is, like,
It's
not
like,
doing
do you risk
anything
that?
is okay. Getting your player hurt, it just limits you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a both down could still be bad. We are watching from the Elves side of the pitch, so Randomoy wants to score on this side, the Elves need to score on this side. Goes for the red dice hit on the ball. Rolls pushes. Does he commit his last reroll?
Don't think you do.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for the vampires to score, so I agree with not committing the reroll. But once again, he might feel very pressured because he is missing 2 players to an injury and 2 players to KO. If the KO rolls are bad, and he might end up 3 players down because Random Boy does have a babe, so it's more likely he gets the better KOs.
I think you leave the blitzer where he is. What to do with this catcher? Yeah.
Just
Okay.
remove the Hypnogaze. Ooh, goes for the 1 dice, does not get punished. Not rewarded as well, really. Just a knockdown. I'm not sure about that, because if you do skull that, it gives a lot of room for the vampires after hypnogazing the rookie catcher again.
The throw was pretty much stuck there anyway in 2 tackle zones.
Yeah. The troll is not moving, the path is blocked because of sidestep, but sculling opens up a path up the
Mm-hmm.
field. Niggled catcher surviving another hit. He is the true hero of the team.
Ironically, no one's surfable. Takes too much
Uh,
commitment.
yeah. Ooh, blitzes with the ball on the thrower. Does not roll the bloodlust, which allows him to advance a little bit forward. And it's a stun.
KO on a stun. It's pretty useful here.
I
He'll
think
make
we
it,
might
and
see
he'll
some
have to
sort of
like dodge with
potato.
the lineman if he wanted to do that. Opts not to go further downfield.
I'm not sure about that. Like, if you go deep enough, it's going to be tough for the wrestle tackle to get a hit, and you
Mm-hmm.
probably can use the thrall to cover up a very weird 2-man sideline position, and then it's red dice with only tackle, which is probably not good enough to even roll.
Does he dodge the edgy 5 vampire out through tackle? There's the
Rolls the
bloodlust. I was
bloodlust.
about to say
Nah,
that.
ooh,
I think now you have to stay there, but he
yeah,
chooses not
I
to.
don't
He
like
does still have
that.
to reroll.
If you fail like, if he failed one of the dodges from tackle, like, the vampire just goes out of the pitch, because I don't think you can ever commit a reroll in that point.
That opens up the side here for him to get a lot of elves near the ball.
Yeah, and the
Most of
tackle
them
is
not.
right there.
Um, one of them, 2 of them.
Ooh, that dodge is massive from the
That's
loner.
agreed. That's very risky, but
Ooh, and he one-die pows the wrestle tackle. Just a stun, but that means the
that's
biggest
still
threat
pretty
onto
big.
the ball is not going to be in play for this half at least.
Basically,
Assuming
yeah, the rest of the.
he will be able to be a scoring threat later, but he's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
able to threaten the ball, which is a massive stun for Random Boy on a 1 dice. I still think the elves could go for an elf screen and make it very difficult to score in
He can
2
get
turns.
3 elves on the ball if he gets a knockdown here.
Well, I would prefer to just get this Blood Stepper on the ball and just have the other elves blocking
Mm-hmm.
advancement, because the Blood Stepper is the only one that really matters.
Yeah, and if you mark with the other ones, you kind of make it easier for him to blitz you off. Or
Like, the thing is, the vampire is AG4, so if your game plan is, I'm going to force him to dodge, and he makes the dodge and goes up the pitch into scoring position, you might just lose this. I don't hate just basing all the thralls that can provide support against Bloodlust.
he only has 4 throws and 3 vampires. Marking up 2 thralls with
Yeah.
1 catcher
Everyone
is
is
pretty
based
good
up.
value.
He's probably going to have to dodge away and hope that Bloodlust does not trigger if he wants to be in scoring position with the ball.
He can blitz with the loner, and that's probably his greediest
I don't like that.
advancement
I
to get most people down.
like to see him blitz with this wrestle guy just to move a throw up the field, so he does not need to make the bloodlust to have a throw next to the ball. He goes to blitz to free up the kicker, which also works. But I feel like the elves will be able to pressure the ball quite a bit again. Possibly even get a 2 dice.
You can't get rid of them
They are so fast.
too fast.
I think this is the first time we actually see Random Boy slow down a bit to think about positioning. He has been playing very, very fast, considering he is playing a very difficult team to position correctly. And we have seen him position a little bit poorly, and it might have been because he's so eager to play fast. Makes the
Those,
dodge, makes the throw. There probably will still be a 1 dice hit at least with the tackle guy on the ball, and at this point you
I
have to
think
take it.
you bring the IG far around to mark the catcher in the corner,
Ooh,
or
that's a
or
lot
that.
of dice. Bloodlust would have stopped that. Any of the dodges would have stopped that. GFIs would have stopped that. And I believe the dodges were from tackle as well, or at least one of them.
Helps with the greedier play that works.
Yeah, if dice works.
Arguably, I mean, it's a lot safer if it works. And
A question here: do you commit everything for the red dice on the ball without wrestle and only tackle, or do you just say, take the score, I'll protect my elves for the 1 turn attempt, and you don't only just protect the score, you blitz the kicker roll to make
yeah,
sure that the Bloodlust will eat up the reroll, or maybe even stop the score.
yeah. I think you blitz the throw, get as many elves near the ball as possible, and just he might roll a one.
Yeah. If you can,
If
even
he
if
has
the
to activate two vampires, then that's good. To use one, if he had to either blitz sidestepper or more likely just the hypno gaze, then that's two chances at the bloodlust.
if
And if the
you
thrall's out, if you knock him out, then it's a
if you
very
don't have the
dangerous.
thrall, you don't even try the Hypnogates, you just dodge from tackle instead.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Also
I think
true.
the play would be to blitz the thrall, hope for a knockdown and a KO or an injury, and if things go bad, it goes really bad. And it does still leave you with the 1 turn attempt to maybe equalize. And if you can even eat the reroll up from the vampires and 1 turn, you're in a very good position because vampires with 0 reroll, as I have learned from 6 vampires in Cripple Cup, is a very stupid idea and you should never do it. But it was very fun.
That's sound advice.
Yeah, don't 6 vamps, 0
Don't try
reroll.
it.
Don't. It's not worth it. It's funny, but it's very annoying. Making sure that the block vampire will not have an easy path to join the party. He does go for the vampire.
I don't think you reroll that.
He does reroll that. I don't like that. You're more likely to end up with a score if you keep the reroll for the 1 turn. But that
Mm-hmm.
does mean the troll is not in a position to assist any sort of bloodlust on the end zone. But 0 reroll 1 turn.
He
That's not
does
well.
have pass and catch, but not sure hands, and he's still gonna make
Ooh.
blocks.
That position on the catcher will force it to be a blitz with the ball as well, which is a little bit more dice, but in the end, Random Boy does have a reroll, and like the main dice roll he has to roll is Bloodlust. Yeah, he disengages the catcher to not give up a free blitz instead of a dodge. So yeah, if Random Boys make two pluses. He's in probably a winning position because you don't have rerolls for the one turn anymore.
It could just get the kickoff he needs though.
Yeah, a quick snap would make it easy, or a riot would make it easy,
Or
but
just a reroll.
or a reroll, yeah. But even then, you can still fail. I don't know. I just don't like wasting your reroll when the main
There's the
chance.
bloodlust.
Yeah, but he did bring a throw over, so he
Mm-hmm.
can still
It's true.
not reroll it, attempt the hit no gaze to avoid the dodge. Bites the thrall. Just stun. So yeah, 2 plus to score here. And he has a reroll in hand. I don't like making it a blitz. You didn't need
Yeah.
a GFI to reach to the touchdown line. That's just more risk you're taking. Makes the score, doesn't even need a reroll. Now, the elves need a one turn with no reroll. And I'm assuming Random Boy will make it as tough as possible. He does have a sidestep
Does
play.
not get his KOs back. I
Ooh,
think he's still got enough elves for it though, but it's going to be a lot more difficult.
yeah, 7 elves. But he does have a thrower that pretty much guarantees an easy pass to the ball. And the guy catching it has Nerves of Steel. But no reroll still means you need to throw 3 or even 4 pushes with no assist. And he's putting vampires on the line. I really like that. Because he can force the first block at least to be a 1 dice. And rolling a 1 dice push with no reroll is a very bad way to start your 1 turn attempt.
This is how you play for the win instead
I
of player
don't like
preservation.
putting the sidestepper in the middle. I say you put the sidestepper on one side and then you make sure that he just blocks the way and you commit more thralls to the other side to stop the 1 turn. Cause the sidestepper
Yeah.
is in the way.
He's not going to hit the middleman anyway.
Yeah.
May as well make him something less annoying.
Not a bad defense from Underboy, even with not capitalizing on the sidestep, because it still forces a 1 dice. But this is the moment when I really hope Random Boy sets dodge to optional, because if you forget, you make chain pushes a lot easier with that Agi5 vampire. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone forgets eventually. Also, because he did not stack the vampires, he actually does give a 2 dice on the vampires. Because there are 2 slots when you can be an assist now on the Agi5 vampire if he chooses him as the target to blitz, and you can just counter the assist on the kicker. If you stack the vampires, you can only get 1 assist. In the thrall, make sure that you cannot bring someone over for another assist, and forces a guy to be a counter assist to get the 1 dice. That's probably the main weakness of choosing this defense, and it makes putting vampires on the line weaker, and leaves a higher chance for the 1 turn.
Would be a little surprised if it worked. Just so many hits without block even. It's risky enough.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see something special really. He's going to probably make the hit on Donald Trump a 2 dice by counter the assisting of the thrall, and then hope for pushes.
Probably going to just pass to him first action.
Well, it doesn't really matter when you do it, as long as the kick is not very deep, because you do have the ability to throw very far, and you do have Nerves of Steel, but there is interceptions. to take into consideration.
Also had safe throw though.
Yeah. Well, ideally you prefer to not
But
need the intercept.
yeah, if you use the safe throw and the ball doesn't go anywhere, then that's the end of it as well.
Well, if you successfully get the safe throw on an intercept attempt, you still do the pass.
I thought there was if you fumble it, then he keeps it.
Yeah,
Or if
if you
it
fumble
was
it, you keep it. But if you fumble it, you probably don't bring the ball to the other
yeah,
side anyway, unless you
yeah,
are standing next to him, and then you could have handoffed.
it's basically the same thing for this situation. Taking all of his time to think about it, as you should. Currently, he won't have the follow-up hit unless he brings that G5 catcher over one square. Unless he's hoping for a short kick and just runs the throw there. Even that's a GFI because he's moving 5. What would be funny is if he blitzes and then forgets to turn off tackle and he rolls a push foul. Don't roll once is the best everyone strategy.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there is a situation when you want to run ones, unless it's on your armor. Because if it's your armor, you want
It's
all
true.
the ones. Like, oh, I'm a nobler? Well, I roll double ones. Gets the high kick for the not so free pickup.
That's I think that's gonna make it to where he can't finish the chain push by just running the thrower in, unless he wants to dodge the catcher around
Yeah, that's going
after
to
the
make it
blitz.
tougher. Makes the pickup.
Gets the pickup.
He cannot feel the square. I don't like not just fielding someone. Like, can he still do this? He probably will need to make the.
No, he can't dodge the catcher because he needs to get a hit. Of course.
I think this stops the one turn.
I think. Okay, so if he blitzes, pushes him there, and then if he moves the Agi 5 over one square, well, there you go. And now the spike fell. There you have it, folks. Vampires further in the playoffs now.
One step from becoming from a random boy to a random man, and then a random god. Also, one game away from a hype video, which will be pretty amazing for vampires to achieve. Especially one season vampire, if I remember correctly.
It looks about one season's worth.
Goes for the hit on the Bloodstepper. We might see a foul as well, just to finish the game
If he
nicely.
kills his high level vampire, that would be.
No, he's going
Oh,
to
wow.
kill his own catcher, probably.
There you go.
Just a KO. You upper this for
GG.
respect. No upper. I don't like that. You should have upper that. for style.
for style. I like blitzing with Juggernaut and rolling pushes and block and just using Juggernaut to push anyway for style.
Not really interesting MVPs. A lot of blocks from the vampires when you look at the statistics.
A level up on the Thrall. He's already got a kicker. He's got block and wrestle and a dirty player. Probably just more block.
Well, right now,
Unless he rolls guard, hopefully. I mean, that would
what
be very
Randomboy
helpful for
mostly
him.
wants is bench.
Buy a couple players with all your money would be pretty useful.
I would like to see his team after the match because I don't know if he had MNGs because I didn't have the time to look at the teams before starting. I think the viewers deserve to know how well Random Boy is doing. Come on. So was his team before the match. It was not validated yet. He did have two Thralls MNG'd, and one of them is a guard, block, tackle. He would have really liked to have him this game, but
Ah,
yeah, that means he will have a bench next match, which is pretty good. And he had 40k in the bank to begin with, so we might see him go to 13 or even 14 players. So yeah, Random Boy is in a good position. Hopefully we will see him reach further, just because vampires are very interesting to see in the playoffs. Yeah, thank you for joining me, Fiction. It was very nice. It's better than
no
casting
problem.
alone.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so I'm going to play the intro now. So praise your ears. Uh, yeah, so next time, I suppose.